Welcome back, everybody. You know we had to do it. It's the time of year again for our annual Thanksgiving deep dive.
Uh-oh.
You guys know the drill. We asked and you delivered. So many great articles and questions this year, all about how Thanksgiving dinner impacts our bodies.
Yeah.
So to help us break it all down, we have our health expert here. I'm really excited to dig into this one. Did you know that there's a spike in alcohol-related hospital visits between Thanksgiving and spring?
Really? I did not know that.
I know, crazy, right? But don't worry, we're going to cover all that and more.
Yeah.
We've got tons to unpack today about what Thanksgiving does to our insides. Everything from, that stuffed feeling
Oh, yeah.
to the gut, the heart, even weight gain. What happens when we basically throw our healthy habits out the window for a day?
It's a great question and one I know a lot of us are thinking about right now.
Especially with all the delicious food everywhere we turn. So let's start with that gut feeling, literally. You know that saying about plumbers having their busiest day after Thanksgiving? I've always wondered how much of that is true.
Right. Is it just an old wives' tale or what?
What is it about Thanksgiving dinner that makes it such a gut buster?
Well, it's really no surprise when you think about it.
Yeah.
We've got fried foods, tons of fat, processed ingredients, and huge portions.
Oh, the portions?
All of that can lead to bloating, gas, diarrhea even.
Oof, not the kind of gratitude we're going for.
No, not at all. The gastroenterologist we read about had some interesting advice, though.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
Smaller portions, that's key.
Makes sense.
And really slowing down and savoring each bite instead of just, scarfing everything down.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that.
And this might surprise you. Don't shy away from the fiber-rich sides.
Oh, okay, so more than just the green bean casserole.
Exactly. Think Brussels sprouts, cauliflower.
Oh, interesting.
Things that will actually help keep things moving, if you know what I mean.
All right, so good to know we don't have to completely deprive ourselves, but what about the drinks? Everyone's enjoying a few glasses of wine with dinner. Is that going to completely derail things?
It's all about moderation, right? For most of us, our gut is pretty resilient,
That's good to hear.
especially if you're not, overdoing it on a regular basis. Think of it this way. Your gut has this whole ecosystem of bacteria.
The microbiome.
Right. The microbiome. And it can handle some temporary disruptions. As long as you're not regularly going overboard, a little indulgence here and there shouldn't do any lasting damage.
That is reassuring. Now, let's move on to something that I know worries a lot of people. Heart health. Can we really just ignore all the doctor's orders for a day? Is it really okay to go all out?
It's funny.
Yeah.
That's the question we all have, right? And the cardiologist we read about, she actually had a surprising take.
Oh.
She said that for most healthy individuals, one Thanksgiving meal, even a really indulgent one, isn't going to have a long-term negative impact.
Really? Even with all the saturated fat and sodium?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Wow, okay. What about people who already have heart issues, though? I imagine it's a different story for them.
You're right. For people with specific conditions, like congestive heart failure.
Right, where the heart isn't pumping as efficiently.
Exactly. Or for those with brittle diabetes, where blood sugar is hard to manage, a big, heavy meal can be riskier.
So they need to be extra careful and talk to their doctor.
Definitely. And of course, you know this, but too much alcohol is never a good idea.
Especially not on top of a huge meal.
Exactly. Overdoing it can lead to arrhythmia and a whole host of other problems. Again, it all comes back to moderation.
That seems to be the theme of the day. But I'm actually thinking about something positive about Thanksgiving and heart health.
Ooh, what's that?
What about the social connection? Isn't spending time with loved ones good for us?
You're absolutely right. We often forget that Thanksgiving is about so much more than just the food.
Yeah.
It's about spending time with people we care about, sharing a meal, and feeling connected.
Exactly. Even with all the cooking and maybe some family drama.
It's still a time when many of us feel a sense of togetherness, and that's really important for our well-being.
Okay, so how does that tie back into heart health specifically?
Well, there's actually a lot of research on this. Studies have shown that strong social connections can actually lower blood pressure, reduce stress hormones,
Yeah.
and even lower the risk of heart disease.
So Thanksgiving might actually be a heart-healthy holiday in a way. Who knew?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. When we focus on the positive aspects like connection and gratitude, it really shifts our perspective.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about the gut and the heart. Now let's address the elephant in the room,
The big one.
the one we all dread.
Weight gain.
Yes, weight gain. Is one Thanksgiving meal going to completely sabotage all of our hard work?
Oh, I hear this question all the time. And the good news is, one meal isn't likely to undo everything.
Yo.
especially if you're generally mindful of your eating habits the rest of the time.
Okay, that's a relief to hear. But let's be real. It's easy to get carried away on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
What did the dietitian in the article recommend? How do we navigate the holiday without stressing about every single calorie?
She emphasized focusing on enjoyment and connection, not restriction. In other words, let go of the diet mentality and allow yourself to really savor the meal and the company of loved ones.
That's so important. Sometimes you just have to give yourself a break and enjoy the moment.
Exactly. And, when you're actually eating, practicing mindful eating can really help.
Oh yeah, what does that look like on Thanksgiving?
Well, it's about paying attention to your hunger cues, slowing down, really tasting each bite.
Taking your time.
Yeah, and that can help prevent overeating.
I love that. It's not about deprivation, it's about being present and appreciating the experience. But let's be realistic, Thanksgiving meals can be calorie bombs. What's the actual damage in terms of weight gain from, one day of indulgence?
Well, it helps to remember that it takes in excess of 3,500 calories to gain a pound of fat.
3,500, okay.
So unless you're eating thousands of calories above your normal intake, one Thanksgiving meal isn't going to drastically tip the scales.
So it's not really about one meal, it's about our overall eating habits over time.
Exactly. The real risk is extending those unhealthy eating patterns beyond Thanksgiving and into the whole holiday season.
Right, that's when it can really add up.
Exactly. So moderation during Thanksgiving itself.
And then getting back on track afterwards.
Yes.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that people with certain health conditions need to be more careful. Anything else they should keep in mind specifically for Thanksgiving?
Yes. It's worth repeating that for those with conditions like heart failure, high blood pressure, or diabetes, sticking to their doctor's dietary guidelines is crucial, even during the holidays.
Right. One meal might not make a huge difference for most people, but for them it's different.
Yeah, it's about prioritizing their health and making choices that support their well-being.
It's all about finding that balance between enjoying the festivities and taking care of ourselves. Speaking of balance, you mentioned earlier that certain types of fiber are especially helpful for digestion.
Oh, yeah.
More than just the green bean casserole, right?
Right. Not all fiber is created equal. For Thanksgiving, we want to focus on soluble fiber,
Soluble fiber, okay.
which dissolves in water and helps slow down digestion.
Interesting. Why is that important?
It can help prevent those blood sugar spikes and crashes that often happen after a big carb-heavy meal.
Ah, that makes sense.
And it can also help you feel fuller for longer.
So where do we find this magical soluble fiber?
Good sources include oats, beans, lentils, apples, pears, even flax seeds.
Lentil soup on Thanksgiving.
Well, maybe not lentil soup, but
I mean, it doesn't sound bad.
right. You can get creative and incorporate these foods into your Thanksgiving meal in fun ways. Like, how about a cranberry apple salad with chopped pecans and flax seeds?
Oh, that actually sounds delicious.
Or roasted Brussels sprouts with balsamic vinegar and a touch maple syrup.
See, now you're making me excited to try some new things.
That's what it's all about. Thanksgiving is about tradition, but it can also be a time to try new flavors and dishes that taste good and make you feel good.
This has been so eye-opening. It feels like we're getting a whole new perspective on Thanksgiving, beyond just the food itself.
I agree. It's about so much more than that.
It really is about the connections, the traditions, the gratitude, and knowing that we can enjoy all of that without completely sacrificing our health is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. It's about making informed choices and finding that sweet spot where enjoyment and well-being come together.
So as we wrap up this Thanksgiving deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say this. As you gather with your loved ones this Thanksgiving, remember to savor every moment. Savor the connections, the laughter, and yes, the delicious food.
I like that.
But also remember to savor your own well-being. Make choices that nourish your body and your soul.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners who want to explore any of these topics further, we've included links to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes. Thanks for joining us on this Thanksgiving journey.
It's been fun.
Until next time, happy and healthy eating, everyone.
Yeah, it really is. And all that good stuff actually has some real benefits for our hearts.
Okay, so spill the tea. How does that work?
Well, all those warm and fuzzy feelings of connection, turns out they might actually be doing our hearts some good.
Really?
Yeah, studies have shown that strong social connections can actually lead to lower blood pressure,
Yeah.
reduce stress hormones,
Wow, no way.
and even lower the risk of heart disease. Pretty cool, huh?
That is amazing. So Thanksgiving might actually be a heart-healthy holiday in a way. Okay, so we've covered the gut, the heart, Now let's talk about something I know everyone's thinking about: weight gain.
Ah, yes, the dreaded Thanksgiving weight gain.
Is one big meal really going to derail all of our hard work? Like, can I kiss my weight loss goals goodbye?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But honestly,
Real.
one meal isn't likely to completely undo all your progress,
Okay, that's good to hear.
especially if you're mindful of your eating habits the rest of the time.
That makes sense. But let's be honest, it's so easy to get carried away on Thanksgiving. I mean, the food is just so good.
Oh, I know.
What did the dietitian in the article say about this? How do we navigate the holiday without, stressing about every single calorie?
Well, she had some really great advice. She emphasized focusing on enjoyment and connection, not restriction.
Okay, I like that.
Let go of that diet mentality for a day and just allow yourself to savor the meal and the company.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the food rules, especially during the holidays.
I agree. Sometimes you just need to give yourself a break and enjoy the moment.
I love that. It's not about deprivation. It's about being present and appreciating the experience. But let's be realistic. Thanksgiving meals can be calorie bombs.
Oh, yeah.
What's the actual damage, though? Like, how much weight can we really gain from one day of indulgence?
Well, it's helpful to remember that it takes in excess of 3,500 calories to gain a pound of fat.
3,500, okay.
So unless you're eating thousands of calories above your normal intake, one Thanksgiving meal isn't going to drastically move the scale.
Okay, so it's not really about one meal. It's about our overall eating habits over time.
You got it. The real risk is extending those unhealthy eating patterns beyond Thanksgiving and into the entire holiday season.
Right, that's when those extra pounds can really start to add up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So moderation during the actual Thanksgiving meal is important.
And then getting back on track afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that people with certain health conditions need to be extra careful.
Right.
Anything else they should keep in mind, especially for a day like Thanksgiving?
Yes. It's important to reiterate that for folks with conditions like heart failure, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or diabetes, following their doctor's dietary guidelines is crucial, even during the holidays.
Right, it's about prioritizing their health.
Exactly. While one meal might not have a huge impact for most people, for them it's important to make choices that support their well-being.
It's all about finding that balance, right, between enjoying the holiday and taking care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Speaking of balance, you mentioned earlier that certain types of fiber are especially helpful for digestion.
Oh yes, fiber's our friend.
We talked about the green bean casserole.
Right, but not all fiber is created equal.
So tell me more. What kind of fiber should we be looking for?
We want to focus on soluble fiber,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
for Thanksgiving.
Soluble fiber, okay. And what makes it so special?
Well, it dissolves in water and forms this gel-like substance in your gut.
Interesting. What does that do?
It actually helps slow down digestion,
Oh, okay.
which is a good thing because it can prevent those big blood sugar spikes and crashes that often happen after a big meal.
That makes sense, especially with all the carbs on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. And another bonus is that soluble fiber can help you feel fuller for longer.
So where can we find this magical soluble fiber? Besides the green bean casserole, of course.
Well, some great sources include things like oats, beans, lentils, apples, pears, and even flax seeds.
Lentil soup on Thanksgiving.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, it actually sounds kind of good right now.
Right, you can get creative with it. Thanksgiving is all about tradition,
Oh.
but it can also be a time to experiment and find new dishes that both taste amazing and make you feel great.
Okay, I'm sold. Give me all the soluble fiber recipes. Seriously, though, this has been so eye-opening. It feels like we're looking at Thanksgiving in a whole new light, beyond just the food itself.
Exactly. It's not just about the food, it's about the whole experience.
It really is about the connections, the traditions, the gratitude, and knowing that we can enjoy all of that without, completely sacrificing our health is pretty awesome.
It really is. It's all about finding that balance and
Yeah.
making informed choices.
So as we wrap up this Thanksgiving deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
That's a good question. I'd say this. As you gather with your loved ones this Thanksgiving, remember to really savor every moment.
I love that.
Savor the connections, the laughter, the delicious food, but also remember to savor your own well-being.
Yes.
Make choices that nourish both your body and your soul.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners who want to explore any of these topics further, we've included links to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes. Thanks for joining us on this Thanksgiving journey. Until next time, happy and healthy eating, everyone.